Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering.
Lack of understanding leads to fear. After Yoda's progression, we end in violence. For those of you seeking a more peaceful world, disarmament is not the answer. Ask any Punisher fan.
Sic vis pacem parabellum. Latin. The boot camp sergeant made us recite it like a prayer. Sic vis pacem parabellum. If you want peace, prepare for war.
This has always been one of my favorite quotes. It was also the motto of my old dojo. Violence is not the answer, but unfortunately it seems to be the only language that some people understand.
See, it's basic dog psychology. If you scare them and get them peeing down their leg, they submit. Yet if you project weakness, if you draw aggression, that's how people get hurt. You see, fear causes hesitation, and hesitation will cause your worst fears to come true. So it's simple. You project strength to avoid conflict.
Peace through superior firepower.
Sun Tzu basically stated in The Art of War that the only true way to win a fight is not to fight. Well, at my old dojo, and now at the organization I occasionally teach in, we teach extremely brutal and nasty techniques. We study other styles to exploit their strengths and weaknesses, and especially study competitive rules so we can use against the people who focus on competition, since our primary specialty is mind games.
Sweep the leg. You have a problem with that?
No, Sensei.
No mercy.
I'm often told that I talk way too much. I agree, but this is a result of three major factors. First, I'm the only child of an only child. Not only did I spend much of my life having no one to talk to, but I also suffer from social anxiety disorder. So when someone shows an interest in something that I am also interested in, I tend to overcompensate, trying to make up for the lack of communication from my youth and beyond, which is also one of the reasons that I'm not good at communicating my point clearly, since I didn't get a lot of practice as a youth. Nerd! 2. My mouth is my greatest weapon. While I'm almost always armed in some form or fashion, my training and reflexes make me dangerous even without a blade or firearm. It's a running joke about the fact that I always carry a red Sharpie. What most people don't know is that Sharpie is one of my favorite weapons. I can inflict insane amounts of pain with it, even permanent damage if I choose. And it's not something commonly viewed as a weapon, but anybody who's watched a Bourne movie knows anything can be a weapon. It also comes in handy for jotting down notes and signing things. I'm not saying I'm the baddest around, just that I'm trained and I have hair trigger reflexes. I know several people that I wouldn't last a second against in a real fight, and I have no illusions that any random stranger I run across might be able to do the same. I have routinely trained people to easily dismantle people that are bigger, stronger, faster, and more skilled than them. This is usually through trickery and or mind games, as I reference Sun Tzu again, that all war is based on deception. I have several examples that I routinely cite in classes of my own real-life experiences where the right attitude, right words, or right actions have ended the fight before it began. Sometimes it was as simple as convincing the other person there was no point. Sometimes it was doing or saying something in such a way as to prove to my would-be attacker that laying hands on me would be an extremely painful and sometimes embarrassing mistake. Other times it simply involved correcting a misunderstanding. And the time that I worked as a bouncer, a job I greatly miss, I actually worked more as a cooler. I was hired because the bar was experiencing increasing violence on a nightly basis. But when I took over security, I let rumors of my reputation run rampant, played mind games with the troublemakers, and always stepped in at the right moment to defuse a tense situation with words. Sometimes the would-be combatants backed down out of fear, and in a few cases respect of or for me. But usually it was because I said the right thing. In many ways, bouncing is a lot like babysitting. 90% of the altercations I had to intervene in were started because a third party twisted the words of the first party while repeating them to the second party. Once the original two were nose to nose, simply asking them to repeat their own words would clear up the misunderstanding, thus ending the need or desire for bloodshed. In fact, in this hostile, violent environment that was on the brink of becoming nothing other than a drunken brawlhouse when I signed on, I only had to lay hands on someone once, and that took less than a second to disarm and pacify them. Lack of understanding leads to fear. Reference Yoda for that. Maybe we should throw that one in again.
Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering.
I like to refer to myself as a well-armed pacifist. While I always enjoy strapping on gloves and going a few rounds in fun, true fighting is a dirty, nasty thing. To those of us who follow the way, it's akin to blasphemy to use our training to actually inflict harm, thus it's used only as a last result. This is a quality I firmly instill in my students. Yes, I carry a gun. Yes, it's loaded and chambered. Otherwise, what's the point? Yes, I can have my knife out faster at close range. Yes, I'm prepared to use either. Yet I pray that I never have to use either. One of the times I was in an actual street fight, I was attacked by a well-trained MMA fighter who outweighed me by at least 50 pounds. It took me less than 10 seconds to hospitalize him, and then I helped him to the paramedics as I apologized for injuring him, and to this day I still regret having both cracked his skull and shattered his pride. If I ever have to take a life in defense of myself or another, I will do so without hesitation, and then I'll be haunted by it for the rest of my existence. I used to say that I prayed that I was never forced to find out whether or not I would actually be able to pull the trigger, but since then I've had to. Thankfully my target survived, and quite ironically, I saved his life from two separate people before the altercation was over, after he had literally tried to kill me by actually running me over with his car, and I had in turn tried to kill him by shooting at him through his windshield to try and stop him from killing men I call brothers. So as it turns out, I have the rare luxury of knowing that I can pull the trigger when I have to, yet I don't have to carry the burden of having taken a life. I view and define myself, first and foremost, as a martial artist and a teacher. Martial arts are not about fighting, competing, or hurting others. They're about growth, enlightenment, self-improvement, and discovery. When I grew up as a child in the arts, I was rarely taught the why of different tactics and techniques, and thus I did not truly understand them. Truth be told, I don't think my instructors did either at that time. That is not a blanket accusation, as I did have several instructors along the way that did understand and either shared or did not share that understanding for their own reasons. I often state that in order to teach someone something right, first I have to teach it wrong, then go back and reteach it correctly. Anyone who has ever earned their black belt from me can attest that one of the first things I tell them after they reach this milestone is that everything you know is wrong, and then they start over. An old high school buddy commented on one of my blog posts a few years back that he often likes to play devil's advocate, just to make people think. I do as well, and more often than not. Many times I'll make a counterpoint just to make the other person explore their point more deeply in order to defend it, which brings them to a deeper understanding and thus enlightenment. I truly love it when I'm engaged by an educated and an intelligent arguer who's able to do the same for me. One of my favorite people to argue with, though I don't do it much anymore because I know it gets on his nerves and he has enough stress in his life, and also because I've come to understand him enough that I can pick up almost as much without arguments and just by observing him now. But he's so intelligent and experienced that every time I butt heads with him, I walk away in stunned amazement. I sit on things for long periods of time until I can get a private moment, and then even the things that had seemed so infuriating and horrendous are reduced to inexplicable amazement and enlightenment in a matter of moments. I too am still learning harsh lessons. Statements I make and stances I take are often attributed to those I'm affiliated with, despite the fact that I speak for myself and myself alone. Unless otherwise stated, which is one of the reasons why I will try to avoid dropping the names of organizations I'm affiliated with in my videos, these are my words as an individual and are not indicative of the opinions of an entire organization. I get annoyed when people speak for others, often without their knowledge, as I likewise get annoyed when people speak for me or assume I'm speaking for others. I admit sometimes I speak for the benefit of others, but that still has no indication of their own thoughts or views, either as a group or as an individual. I wear many hats. I'm a martial artist. I'm a teacher. I'm a jack of all trades, a construction contractor. I'm a network IT tech. I'm a biker. I'm a firefighter. I'm a husband and father. I represent a martial arts organization. I'm a blogger. I'm a writer. I'm a gamer. I'm a mentor. I'm a ham radio operator. I'm a gun owner. I'm a geek. I'm many things. And oftentimes I will speak as one, but be misinterpreted by the community of another. When I blog or rant, I do not speak for my students, staff, employers, clients, or associates. I do not speak for those I ride with. I do not speak for those I fight fires with. If I'm speaking on behalf of a group, I will say as much. If I speak out in support of something, some group, some charity, some affiliation, that does not necessarily indicate that I have a link to them other than I support them. This is especially true when I play devil's advocate, because my intention then is to make people think, not misrepresent one of the many communities I'm part of, or the groups or ideals I support. Always consider Poe's law when reading anything I say. Sarcasm, one of my many services, is easily misunderstood. Fear and lack of understanding are often the sparks that ignite the powder kegs. Especially around me, the guy who casually smokes a cigarette while gassing up his bike. Yeah, that'll get some raised eyebrows, but I worked at a full-service gas station at one point. I studied chemistry and physics. I know what it takes to set off gasoline and what won't. People are harder to understand than physics, though, and it's been made obvious that many people don't understand me. I'm always shocked when people take issue with something I say, but rather than confront me, they attack someone else about me. Personally, I think that's pretty chicken shit. While I'm not the best at approaching others, I like to think that I'm pretty approachable. And just like the many altercations I broke up while bouncing, a few words can often put the situation to rest. I don't think like most people, and as a result, I often forget or fail to understand how other people think. If I offend you, ask me about it. I probably just didn't explain it right. Likewise, if someone else offends you, speak to them about it. It's often a misunderstanding that can easily be resolved. There's too much angst, fear, anger, and hatred in this world that stems from simple lack of understanding. That's why I ask questions. I want to understand. The more I understand, the less I fear. The less I hate, the less I get angry, and the less I suffer. Follow the wisdom of Yoda. When you feel fear, anger, or hate, or even suffering, seek understanding and enlightenment, and often that will grant you comfort. Every time someone gains understanding, the world becomes a better place. I think we can all agree that the world could be a lot better place if we could all just learn to abide. While I know that's a pipe dream, every little bit helps.
平和を叫びながらその手に銃を取る。それもまた悪しき選択なのかもしれません。でもどうか今この果てない争いの連鎖を断ち切る力を